A few weeks ago, I was moving this cube aquarium and I accidentally broke it. Instead of just throwing it away, I'm going to take the opportunity to turn it into something new. The first thing that I need to do is separate all the glass panels. Usually, a sharp blade like this one does the trick, but these glass panels are really sandwiched together, so I'm going to have to break out the fishing line. I'm using the fishing line like a saw to cut through the silicone between the glass. This is a great method to try, especially as you haven't got to mess around with sharp tools. Now I'm slowly pushing the glass away and cutting the silicone as I do so. Eventually it will be weak enough that you can just pull them apart. With all the glass separated, I need to give them a slight cleanup before I can start cutting them to size. The sharper the blade, the better, as the silicone can be really quite stubborn. They're certainly not perfect, but they're clean enough to move on. Now I'm going to take some time to decide on the size tank that I want to make. Due to the limited amount of glass, I think I'm going to go for a shallow tank, mini pond style. I'll put all the dimensions that I'm going to cut up on screen now, as well as in the description. The first step before cutting is marking either side of the glass with a Sharpie. To cut the glass, you won't need any fancy machines and you just need a ruler and a glass cutter like this one. A really useful tip is to place a few pieces of blue tack on the underside of the ruler. This stops it from sliding on the glass and results in much straighter cuts. Another essential you'll need is some safety glasses, as the last thing you want is to get some glass inside your eyes. Before cutting, I line the glass cutter up to ensure the tip of the cutter is right on the mark of the pen. Once I'm happy, I'll firmly press the glass cutter down and pull it back in one continuous motion. You don't want to score the glass more than once, as all that's going to do is blunten your glass cutter. With the score line made, it's time to break the glass in two. I'm placing the line on a straight edge and then firmly pressing it down until the glass breaks. Some gentle and precise taps can also be effective. The reason for the wood is that it helps keep even pressure throughout the entire length of the glass. Don't be intimidated about cutting glass, as it is easier than you might think. You'll certainly make some mistakes, as everyone does, but with some practice you'll get there in no time. I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same process until all the pieces are cut down to size. Now that all the glass has been cut, I need to sand the edges, as they really are quite sharp. Ensuring the sandpaper is wet helps eliminate any glass dust. With all the glass sanded, cleaned and dried, it's time for the assembly. To make this as easy and as smooth as possible, I've got all the glass ready in their respective locations, and I'm placing some electrical tape on the glass which will help anchor it down whilst the silicone dries. Make sure you use aquarium grade silicone or 100% silicone. You should aim for the beads to be roughly the same thickness of the glass or slightly thicker to be on the safe side. I can now carefully assemble the tank and lock the glass in place with the electrical tape as I do so. To minimize the chance of leaks, I'm going to add a secondary bead of silicone on the interior edges. I'll then use my finger to smoothen out the silicone, followed by adding the final panel of glass. After 24 hours, the silicone is fully cured and it's time to clean up the tank. I'll start by removing the tape and then using a sharp blade to cut away all the excess silicone. The tank is looking great and it's almost complete, but there's still a few more steps before I can start building. Firstly, I'm going to flip the tank over and attach a mat to the bottom. This is recommended for rimless tanks as it helps protect the glass from uneven surfaces. Next, I'm going to install the lighting. I'm using this Chihiro's light as it can easily be mounted on the back in a seamless and discreet way. I'll be using it at about 50% power as it might be a bit too bright for a low-tech setup like this one. There'll be links to all the tools, materials and equipment for this build in the description below in case you're interested. The last essential step before I can start building the mini pond is to give the tank a water test. 9 times out of 10 there's no leaks whatsoever, but it's always good to double check before you've got the tank fully complete. I'm simply filling the tank with water and then I'm going to leave it alone for a good few hours. A good amount of time has passed and there's no leaks, so it's time to get started with the build. The idea for this build is to make a low-tech, no-filter, island-style aquarium. I want a decent sized rock in the centre as the focal point with space for the fish to swim around it. To start off, I'm pouring in about an inch of sand. I'll need to add some nutrients under this sand later, but for now it's going to allow me to experiment and build the hardscape. To construct the central island, I'm going to use these dragon stones. They've got some amazing, unique detail to them and I love their natural coloration. As with all hardscapes, there's a lot of trial and error that goes into finding the right design. After a while of experimentation, I decided to replace one of the large rocks for a smaller one, and I think it fits the scape much better. As you may notice, I've arranged the stones in a way that makes them look like one single large rock. They're pretty unstable at the moment, and the last thing I want is for them to fall and crack the glass, so I'm going to lock them together with the superglue and tissue method. I'm wedging the tissue between the contact points and then soaking it with some liquid type superglue. This is 100% fish safe and it's a common practice in most aquascapes. Once dried, it's strong enough that I can pull the entire hardscape out in one single piece. Now I've got the hardscape ready, I'm going to empty the tank and start off with the nutrient layer. I could have added the nutrients from the start, but throughout the experimentation with the hardscape, it's going to get mixed up with the sand and could cause algae problems in the future as it's not properly capped off. This here is some garden compost and it's going to go right at the base of the aquarium. This stuff is loaded with nutrients, so it can't be left open like this, otherwise there'll be some major algae issues. After giving it a good spray down, I'm going to cap it off with some sand. This will stop the nutrients from leaching into the water column, yet they'll still be accessible through the plant's roots. I want this layer to be relatively deep, so I'm adding a bit more sand throughout. As you can see, the depth of the sand slopes up as it gets to the back of the aquarium. This is a simple trick that will help add some depth to the scape. I'm now placing the dragonstone back inside the scape and adding some small rocks underneath, which will help give it some stability and support. I'm using the same method as before to lock these rocks in place, just to make sure the rock doesn't topple over. As you can see, it's really quite sturdy and it's going to survive being bumped into throughout planting and maintenance. At the moment, the sand is really quite plain and boring, so let's fix that. I've placed in some small pieces of dragonstone and now I'm going to add some gravel. I'm starting with some small pea gravel and then I'm going to add some larger ones on top. Just like that, the foreground is completely transformed and it looks a lot more natural with much more detail. Now that the hardscape is done, I'm absolutely loving how this shallow pond is looking so far. Before I start planting, I'm going to give the entire tank a really good spray down. I prefer to plant into damp substrate as it stops the plants from drying out so quick. With that done, it's time to get to work with the planting, and I think I'm going to start off with the background. I think the perfect plant for this is going to be some Rotala green that will grow nice and tall to fill out the space. A slight mishap: after closer inspection, the plant inside doesn't actually seem to be Rotala whatsoever. There must have been a mix-up at the factory and the wrong plant has gone inside both of these pots. I'm not actually 100% sure what it is as it's still so small, so some help in the comments would be great. My best guess is Crypt Parva due to the cramped growth, small leaves and rhizome at the base. Despite this slight mishap, I'm still going to go ahead and use this plant in the background as this is only a shallow tank and hopefully after some time it will grow tall enough. I've split both pots up into lots of smaller sections that I can now plant throughout the background. I like to plant them nice and deep as it stops them from being easily uprooted once the tank is filled up. Aquatic plants are prone to drying out, so a light spray down every now and then is essential. Next I'm going to plant in some epiphytes, starting off with this Anubias. I can simply wedge it between the rocks and it will pull its nutrients from the water column. These types of plants are susceptible to rotting when planted into the substrate, so this is the way to go. Next I'm going to plant in a few different types of Bucephalandra in the same way. I want to plant this one over here, but there's nothing to wedge it into, so I'm going to have to take a different approach. I'm adding a small amount of superglue to the rhizome and then attaching it to the rock. This doesn't hurt the plant so long as you don't use overly too much. I've wedged a few more in gaps between the rocks at the base, so let's move on to some other plants. I'm going to plant these throughout the foreground to add a bit more detail and variety. I love the delicate round leaves of this plant and it's going to slowly creep and grow throughout the foreground. For the most part, I've selected slow-growing plant species that won't overgrow the tank too quick, which will make maintenance much easier. I really don't want to overdo the planting as I want to leave plenty of room for them to grow in, so I think I'm going to leave it there and fill the tank up with water. The piece of bubble wrap disperses the water and stops it from disrupting the sand or uprooting the plants. As for water, it really couldn't be simpler. It's just regular tap water that's been dechlorinated. I think some immersed patches of moss growing on the dragonstone would suit this scape really well. I'm going to pinch a few patches from my giant vampire crab paludarium. This species is known as Christmas moss, which is a slow-growing moss that grows great both in and out of water. I'm planting it in, ensuring that the base is in contact with the water, which will help keep it hydrated and prevent it from drying out. I'm thinking of planting this peperomia on the dragonstone growing immersed from the water. I've removed it from the pot and cleaned away all the soil so it's just bare roots. To be honest, I can't really find a spot where it sits well and fits the scale of the scape, so I think I'm going to give it a pass this time. Something I do want to add before I leave this tank to grow in are some floating plants. This duckweed will not only add some nice detail to the water's surface, but it'll also pull nutrients from the water column, which will help prevent algae. Now it's time to leave the tank alone to grow in and establish. "60 days have passed and this shallow pond aquarium really is thriving. I'll get into the inhabitants living throughout the tank shortly, but first I want to quickly talk about the plants. Although it only might be a little, all the plants have got some healthy new growth. Slow growth is expected in a super low-tech setup like this one, and it's actually beneficial as fast-growing plants would overtake the scape too quick. As for the plant in the background, it's healthy, but it hasn't grown tall whatsoever. I'm gonna leave it be for the time being, but I am tempted to switch it out in the near future. As I'm sure you may have seen, I've added a few different inhabitants that call this ecosystem home. The first creatures to go inside were these tiny snails that I added about a week after planting. They're only small, but they're always at work keeping the tank nice and clean. The next inhabitants to go inside were a small group of these beautiful red cherry shrimp. I absolutely love these tiny creatures, and in my opinion, no underwater ecosystem is complete without them. About 2 weeks ago, I added 6 of these stunning emerald rasboras. I've had these guys for about a year now, and they've been living inside the giant vampire crab paludarium. The reason I've taken them out is to give the shrimp inside the paludarium a chance to actually breed. Despite their tiny size, these guys are such great hunters that they manage to pick off almost every single one of the shrimplets. In their absence, the shrimp population should bounce back nice and strong. It's crazy to think that the only reason this ecosystem came about was because I accidentally broke one of my aquariums and decided not to just throw it away. I think it just goes to show that we can always make the best out of a bad situation and turn something old and broken into something new and beautiful. As always, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for watching.